renovation that went on charge up, not establishing variations and, other site changes that we made that increased the cost and overall exceeded the client's budget. We sat down at a table, another experienced builder came in. I said to him, what I do, and he goes, I've been through this, and what I did, I sucked it up. You made the mistake and you finished the job. So we finished the job.
What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch up with people about it.
Hey guys, before we kick off this episode, I just want to thank our content partners. You guys know it, Abodo, for supporting the Better Builder podcast. Now, I've actually firsthand heard from a lot of builders who love working with Abodo timbers. Over the last 20 years, they've perfected the art of thermally modifying New Zealand radiata. Now, that just means there's no chemicals on there. They pretty much just use steam and heat to modify the timber. So what does that mean? It's great on the tools, it's super light, it's durable and stable, which we know helps deliver a great end result for your clients. Good job, Abodo. Now, let's get this episode rolling. Anthony Reweti.
That's right.
Thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. Good to have me.
I appreciate you coming on. We're going back and forth a little bit on the IG.
Yep.
Life of a Builder is one of your accounts. You do some really cool stuff on there. A lot of building videos, a lot of little, just kind of, what would you call it? Just like following along as you're building stuff, right?
Maybe daily stuff that guys are doing. Yeah, short videos that are posted up on there.
That's really cool. I want to know a little bit and find out a little bit more about your sort of how you grew up and where you grew up. I know you guys are based in the Mount Maunganui.
Yep.
How far away is that? Like 3 hours?
Yeah, it's a 3
from
hour
Auckland.
drive. Yep.
Yeah, with traffic.
Yeah, 3 hour drive in down. East Coast.
East Coast for our overseas listeners. Beautiful spot. Pretty much like an Auckland 2.0. A lot of Aucklanders moved down there, right?
Very popular spot. Yeah, it is. Yep.
Because you got the beach and you got it's good for surf. What else do you guys get up to in the Mount?
Well, there's all the bushwalks close, so that's popular for us right now. Me and the family are getting out there, up in the Kaimais, which is a short drive, but between the beach and the bush, a few bushwalks, that would be the best way to enjoy it, I reckon.
Yeah, and we've got what we've got in common is we both have 4 children. So busy household.
Oh yeah, very busy. Sunrise to sunset.
And how do you navigate that? Is your wife on top of it?
Yeah, it's more of a full-time job than my job, that's for sure. Yeah, the 4 kids from 4 years old, 7, 10, and 12, and we've got girl, boy. So
perfect.
Yeah,
all just like right in the middle.
Yeah, it's good having the split. It's chaos, man. Yeah, it's a loud house. The family are always loud, and you never know what dinner's going to be like. They don't sit down nicely, well behaved at the table. One will stand up, one will sit on the table, one will walk off, one's not eating. Yeah, family life's full on. But my wife's full time with the kids and at home. So.
Yeah, you got to be. Someone was asking me the other day if my wife, because my oldest one, we got 4, and the oldest one's like 5.5. And someone was asking if my wife, does she do it? Has she got like a part-time job or something? I was like, mate, she doesn't have enough time to take a shower, let alone have a part-time job. But no, it's cool, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you driving 3 hours up, 3 hours down, just to come have a yarn, So I really appreciate that. So where did you grow up, Anthony?
In the Mount. I've been in the Mount all my life. Grew up actually where I live now. So I grew up on the same property, and then we actually built our own house when we were 19 on the back section. Yeah,
cool.
So been there ever since.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So how's the Mount changed since you were a little fella all the way now?
I used to be the Sleepy Hollow. Winter, all the shops would close. You wouldn't really see many people around or much happening. It'd just be that summer peak season. It was more of the Christmas holiday town. Whereas now, you've got all the traffic lights, the overpasses, all of those sort of bigger infrastructures going in, and the sprawling suburbs as all of the housing groups and, that sort of small residential urban has sort of spread out. So
yeah,
man, massive change. You know, the growth there, I don't know what population it would have got changed from, but huge. Yeah.
Yeah,
And now it's rare to find a local that's grown up there.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, just because it's exploded, and also like the bordering towns. What's the one that's just south of Mount Maunganui, the town?
Like Tauriko, you know, there's
there's like
suburbs or Rotorua, Hamilton.
Yeah, just a lot of the surrounding area is just sort of expanded quite a bit. So what was your upbringing like there? Like who were you? Who was Anthony as a young kid?
Well, yeah, I probably grew up a bit harder than most through, you know, a nice home when we were young, but after my dad passing away when I would have been like 4 or 5, that all sort of fell apart, and life got real rough there. So a few years, you know, of some real tough times for my mum, raising 3 kids. So I've got a brother and sister. Bit of a broken home, you know, a bit of alcohol, drugs, and all of the, you know, mischief that comes along with those sorts of things. Ended up out in foster homes, and then mum got straight, so was allowed back home, and life carried on there.
Yeah, wow. So that's like a pretty full-on...
At a young age, yeah.
Yeah. And so how old were you when you went into foster care?
It would have been 7.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And what was that like?
You know, you build all the walls you can and all the defence to shield yourself from people. So I wouldn't have been pleasant to have in the home. Like people take you in, you know, and they try to accommodate you. But yeah, that's a real sort of fend for yourself moment where you either break or put up defences so you don't break. But yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, I can imagine, eh? And then what age were you when you went sort of back to mum?
Sort of in that same year, you know, mum
right.
had to just get sober, and then she was back.
Oh wow, okay. And so how's that affected you as a parent now? Like going through all that, like I can imagine when you become a parent, you know, a lot of that stuff bubbles back up, and then you sort of have to figure out who you're going to be as a dad, and how did that affect you, or you know, what sort of approach do you take now as a parent from all that experiences?
Yeah, a big part was growing up without a father. You know, you never have that role or figure to lead you or mentor you and help groom you or grow you through challenges. So, you know, I tried to attach to a few male role models being younger, but none were probably that good until I ended up building, which ended up being my wife's father. He sort of took over that male role model as when I was about 17, starting my apprenticeship, 16. Yeah.
And what kind of guy were you then when you were 16, 17? Like, how would you, if I asked your mates who was Anthony then, what kind of guy was he? What would they say, you think?
I was mischief, eh? You know, you grow up through trouble and you become the result of it. So, yeah, there was, drinking, drugs, alcohol, cars, and all the other naughty things that come with it. But that was just a part of growing up in a struggle. You sort of don't really have good nurturing or good care to direct you too well. But yeah.
Yeah. So you were a bit of a handful probably when you were 16, 17. And then did you meet your wife's now dad back then already? Is that how you got the job? Is that how you met her?
Eventually, yeah. Eventually, I met my wife in school. Right. We're high school sweethearts.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, so, we've been sticking at it for a long time now.
That's awesome.
But, yeah, met her in school, and then after I'd left school, eventually got a job with her dad.
Oh, awesome. And what was that like? So you did you leave school early? Did you leave 5th form, 6th form?
Yeah, I left just 14, just before I turned 15. Right. Yeah.
And then what was that like, sort of first day on the building site versus coming out of the classroom? Was that like exciting, scary?
Yeah, it was exciting. I actually started bricklaying. That was the first job I got. So straight into the school of hard knocks where you're either tough or you're not on the team. Just yelled at and told to run all day. And if you're not running, then you're not working. But at the end of the day, he'd pay me in cash and I'd be stoked, you know, like, so just getting out of school and getting my first job where you get a big paycheck and some cash at the end of the week
Yeah.
was awesome. But after taking that and realizing that the builders on the other site next door, as we were bricklaying them, you know, subdivision home, brick veneer, the builders on the other side, I was like, these guys just stand around. What are they doing? You know, like, that looks like an easy job. Sure, I can do that. And knowing my wife's dad was a builder, I asked her to ask him and he gave me a chance.
That's awesome. So he kind of took over a little bit of that mentorship role, I guess, or father figure role, as you were saying. So that must have been nice to just kind of step into that and having someone that's sort of like looking out and just giving you some guidance.
Yeah, it was. Yep, 100%.
And so did you get straight into an apprenticeship, or how did that sort of process run? Did you just work from for a while before you got into the apprenticeship, or how does that
there would
work?
have been a few months, you know, of just working, and then it was probably him that was like, oh, you know, there's an apprenticeship and you can get qualified and stuff. So it was probably him that helped me in that direction, because at the time I didn't really care. I was just wanting to get paid, you know.
Yeah. And here he's like, this guy's like dating my daughter. I better get him some direction. That's awesome. So it kind of like, that was an awesome shift, right, from your upbringing to kind of getting a bit of direction, someone believing in you and saying, hey, go down this path. So how did you find your apprenticeship? How long did it take you to kind of complete that?
Yeah, it was a solid 4 years, and you know, I turned up every day and loved it. I was tried to work hard, but still had my bad habits and stuff with me. So, you know, all that mattered was the period of work. You know, the 7 till 5, that was the work day, and I just was there to get stuck in. Being yelled at as a bricklayer, I sort of took that on as like, that's what you've got to do as a builder. You know, I was already ready to like run, and they were like, oh, you don't run anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry.
So you had like a good attitude about it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So you were like ready to come, put in the hard yards, did your apprenticeship, and then what was the vibe when you got qualified? Were you just, did you think you're gonna just go stay there forever, work for someone else, start your own gig? What was the plan like after you got qualified?
Yeah, well, we built a house. I still wasn't qualified at the time. I was, but I'd left my father-in-law's employment just to build that solo in my backyard. He was like, you know, you can build a house, so go and do it yourself. And they qualified me after I finished that.
Cool.
And then...
So who worked on that with you? Just you? Or?
Well, I didn't have much money, and this would have been a few years, 17, 18 years ago. So I had one friend come and help me who was an apprentice, which I was an apprentice as well, but he was a little bit younger, so it meant I was in charge. And then we had a work experience guy from the Polytech, you know, where they come in once a week for a day or so. Yeah.
Cool. That's kind of a cool experience. So like from a young age, you just built your own place.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's just the simplicity of a house, you know. It's a rectangle divided into 3 sections. You know, you've got bedrooms, living, kitchen, and then master bedroom, bathroom. You know, simple, 4 corners, half weatherboard, half plaster, skillet and roof. We had always built our own frames in my apprenticeship, so I built the frames, you know, as a timber floor. All of the things were sort of I was familiar with. So
yeah. So what did that do to your confidence levels? You coming up, you're a teenager that's sort of directionless a little bit, tough upbringing. You're getting your going through your apprenticeship, and now all of a sudden you complete a home, you get your ticket. What did that do to you in terms of like self-belief and what you thought you could take on in life now after that? Did that make a big difference?
Yeah, it was like, you know, encouraging, I suppose. But in finishing that, we went out and did a little bit of contracting, building some houses on labour only. You know, and it was just small steps at that stage. And I was sort of still unsure of what I wanted to do. You know, I was just building because, you know, that's sort of where I ended up, and I was just going to chip away at it. Went to go back to my father-in-law sort of to continue working with him. He didn't have any work, so I ended up doing he gave me the labour-only contracts.
Cool.
Sort of saying, you built your own house. Also, I'll give you this, and, you know, you can do this, you'll make more money. And so he was really like helping pave a way for me to get into the industry and building.
Yeah. And then how did you then, what happened after that? You sort of continue to work like that labour only for a while, or how long did it take you before you started your company, Bold?
Yeah, I didn't continue to work the labour only. I wanted to do like quite big flash houses, and it was sort of a bit of a dream, but I wanted to work for my father-in-law, so I went back and I was like, I'll carry on working with you. And he goes, I've sort of taught you all I can. Go off and work for someone else. So I'd driven past a local legendary builder for the 4 or 5 years, and I always wanted to do the houses that he did. They just looked big and amazing to me. I sort of didn't know much. I built small rectangles. So I rang him up, sat in his office, and he gave me the chance, and then I worked with him, which that felt like really my second apprenticeship, because the architectural building was just completely new and different, structural steel, in situ floors, cantilevers, all these new products. It was like a second apprenticeship going to work architectural after my residential one. I thought I was qualified, but then I realised I didn't know anything. So I was like back in the hot seat learning every day.
That must have been cool though, like kind of just being like, now we could just take you on a new adventure of learning and getting better, right? Or was it quite scary?
Yep, no, I probably showed a bit of natural ability and talent there. So he sort of pushed me into a few things that were above where I felt comfortable. And I had a real good relationship with him and still do, just top bloke, old school, hand tools, handcrafted sort of, which really was helpful in, improving my skill and sort of, continuing.
Yeah, 100%. So that was kind of good, because then you kind of went out on your own, and then you kind of went back to work for someone. Do you think there's a lot of lesson there to be learned for like a lot of builders that are kind of thinking of going out on their own? Like, if they want to do the high end architectural stuff, it might be better to work for someone, to go work for someone for a bit longer on the higher end type of jobs before you sort of just go out on your own and figure it out. What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely, time teaches in architectural building. The longer you do it, the more you learn. So working with someone, you're always under that supervision, and they help you. There's always someone to sort of sharpen your skills or to teach you the next step of whatever the sort of, component is that you're building, whether it's a floor slab, wall frames, balloon frames, raking frames, how to calculate them, where the computer and the calculator crosses over to on-site, all of these skills that you don't get working on your own when the team can sort of sharpen you up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was hugely important. And for me, I thought that it was best to, leave or stay working for someone and leave starting a company till I was older. I'd sort of always set that I'd do it at 35.
Yeah.
So right from the beginning at that stage where I was like, I like building. I've tried, I built the spec house, and, they paid us $12,000 to build the whole house. So I knew there was money out there, but I knew the architectural building had so much to learn and so much to gain in the experience. And I thought, there's going to be a lot of maturity that'll come in waiting. And I felt like with a bit more age, there's a bit more respect.
Yeah.
So, I made a commitment quite young, probably would have been around, mid-20s, that I'd start my own business at 35.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's definitely like a lesson there, right, in terms of just having more patience. I know people want to get out there and there's money to be made and they want to kind of jump in too quick sometimes, especially some of the younger guys coming through, right? So it's definitely some benefit in waiting a little bit and just sort of learning a bit more.
Yeah.
What sort of lessons did you learn from that guy that you worked for that you implement now within your business? Were there any, success leaves clues, right, they say? Is there any aspects that you've kind of taken on that you now implement in running Bold Build?
Yep. Yeah. So he taught me a lot through from pricing, to reading plans and drawings. And then there was 2 foremen on site. These 3 guys were all the same age, at the time they would have been in their 50s or so. But all craftsmen of the trade. They knew how to sharpen chisels, reset hand saws, sharpen the teeth on them, there was, if you had a chisel, you sharpened it yourself. You didn't buy a new one, you bought a Maples because you knew the steel was good. So all of those applications still I carry with me, and to show guys or teach guys at different times, because that skill of hand tools or being a handcrafted builder is a skill only the past guys, could really carried as they came out of, hand tools, and now we've gone into battery tools. So heaps of skills in there, but also he taught me lots about pricing, being careful not to miss things. He'd teach me, like we'd sit in his office and he'd just talk to me about, there's one time I missed all these stainless steel caps. It was a big job and, I had to suck it up. I'd fix the price, or, he'll break it down and say, at the time, he'd say, well, you can price a job two ways. You could go through it, break every component down into every personal hour, whether it's 2 tradies, an apprentice, whatever it is. And he goes, eventually you get to a stage where you look at a job and you say, it's going to take 5 guys a year to build, 6 guys 2 years to build. And he's like, that's how simple it can become. He's like, both ways are probably going to end up simpler. The same once you get to the end.
Yeah.
And that was his experience that had taught him that, So I've been looking for that all of these years, thinking at some point I'm going to know how long a job's going to take, just by having a sort of methodical process and understanding of it, where you can break all those down and be like, it's going to take them 2 days.
Yeah.
I don't need to know that there's hours set up, that there's 2 hours of cleanup, I know that it's just going to take 2 days. They're going to frame it, jib it, and then, we're done.
Yeah, 100%. You can definitely, but that's what time, right? Time teaches you all that and experience.
Yeah, it does.
So, okay, so that's pretty cool. So it's pretty amazing that he took you into the office and explained you, because a lot of times it's just on-site stuff. When guys go out on their own, they had like zero training in terms of any office or business-related, training. So that's pretty cool that he did that and showed you those elements. Yep. So how long did it take from there till you started Bold?
Would have been another 10 or 12 years.
And did you work for him the whole time, or did you go work for any other companies in that time?
No, I had dropped to maybe 2 other companies through that stage. Yeah.
Cool. So. And also at that time, obviously you're like Instagram famous, You're an influencer, right, Anthony? You'd love to be called, not. So when did you start making videos on the internet, like on Instagram and stuff like that? That was, what was that, like 7 years ago or something like that?
Yeah, it was, roughly 7 years ago. Yeah, it was just the daily stuff. Like, it was actually one of my friends who's a photographer. She was like, Ant, there's this new app called Instagram, you can post video or photos of your lunch and what you're doing at work. And I was like, took a laugh to it, but then jumped on. And I think I sometimes look back at this first photo of my tool belt sitting on the ground or something.
Yeah.
And so just sort of fell into that. It was, just daily videos of site and, a couple of photos. And then maybe the timing of it, sort of the way it just has grown a bit through that.
Yeah, and how did it start? Did it sort of grow slowly over time, or did it like kind of shot through at some point? Like, was it just sort of slow and steady?
Yeah, no, there's maybe slow and steady with the odd spike in it. It's a bit of a funny thing, that whole social media stuff, the reach and algorithms and all of that sort of increase what's happening. But I've never really focused too much on that, and then just been trying to post little photos and videos of building.
Yeah. Well, last time I checked, you had like 58,000 followers. It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
So do you know who follows you? Is it like mostly builders, or is it like people looking to build a home, or potential clients or suppliers? Like who follows you? Do you know?
I suppose you don't really know, but I think it's probably all guys, and all with some interest in the construction, because it's pretty dominated just by, specific building stuff.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And how do you, because I've talked a little bit, I had like Troy Jury on here a few weeks ago as well, and he's got like a good following and pretty engaged following with builders as well. But when I asked them the same question, like how much of your work that comes through do you think comes from your social media posting? Do you think anything comes from there, or what are your sort of thoughts on on posting like that? Because obviously you've got a lot of builders probably following you because you're showing how you build stuff. But people looking to build in the Mount, you know, would be looking as well. Do you have any data on that and how much work has come through your socials?
Yeah, like if clients and stuff will bring up that they've seen it, you know. So I have had jobs that have come straight through Instagram and stuff, and but most of the time, you know, if you're meeting a client and it's the first time or something, or they want to search out who you are, you know, they're straight onto Google and they'll Google you up, you know, check the website, whatever other social pages you're using, and they're trying to find just a bit of an insight, you know, like paint the picture of who you are. So for me, you know, Instagram does that, and it's more sort of out of just a side hobby, something I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So most of it's all pretty natural, but then clients will be able to, or, you know, people that want to know who I am, they go on there and they watch all the videos and photos, and then they'll, you know, either give me a bit of banter about it or say, oh yeah, I really liked that, and, you know, so
yeah,
it's nice.
It must have some benefit, eh? It's probably, well, even if it doesn't bring, if it's not sort of top of funnel, it doesn't bring them, it's definitely bottom of funnel in a sense of it might just push them over the line at the end.
Yeah, and there's you know, probably big reach on both sides too. You know, it's the client, but then it's the designers in whatever field, you know, architecture or interior design. You know, most people are sort of jumping on stuff these days to either promote the business or, you know, promote work they've done or history, you know, all of that stuff. So heaps of architects and designers get on it as well. And, you know, I think when you're showing just who you are, it's good for them to see what you're doing and whether it suits for what they like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. I haven't thought of it like that. Do you think that some architects would, and even like maybe consultants as well, would almost look at that, go, oh, you know, Anthony's got a good reach, he's pretty active on social. If I give him this project, he'll be, you know, there'll be a lot of more promotion for our business. Do you think it's a little bit of that could be involved as well, like in terms of architects?
I mean, it works two ways. Like there's definitely a bit of reach return, and, you know, it shares the market for them, which increases, you know, the awareness of their brand, or because everyone needs advertising now, and the best way to do it is just that natural, organic sort of, you know, awareness and just identifying a brand to something, whether they initially interact with it, like, you know, trying to get straight into that page or something, or whether they're just like, oh yeah, I've seen, you know, that work, you know, I've seen that architect's name, I've seen that designer's name, you know. So it gets shared, you know, and now with plumbing merchants or suppliers or stone, you know, concrete, everyone's resharing that, you know, and tagging each other in it. So it's, you know, a sort of collaborative sort of growth that everyone's pulling together just to share a simple photo or video of what you've done on site, or, you know, some work.
Yeah, I think the gist of it is that it's never a bad idea to have a social presence and and to be active online, right?
Yeah.
Because I've heard a lot of builders, you know, been a bit, you know, negative, I guess, about, you know, we're posting all the stuff. I don't think we're getting anything in return. But it is a bit of a long game, eh? And you sort of have to just sort of keep at it. Yeah. What do builders sort of get wrong, you know, when it comes to their, you know, because a lot of builders don't do a lot of social media or marketing. You know, I know you've done your branding. You know, when you started your company a few years ago, you did the branding and you have like a really strong brand, bold brand, pun intended. And you're very active in that on social. So what do you think, what would you say to builders that are sort of poo-pooing the social stuff? Do you think it's obviously it's not for everyone, but do you think it's obviously a good idea for them to put some effort in terms of their marketing and socials? Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can say it's not needed, but then, you know, it's sort of part of just building the brand and the identity. So different people can use it to either just display something or to try and advertise and get return revenue. But identity is essentially a brand. So, you know, when you're marketing, you know, you want to get something that people can recognize easy. Simple, like for us, I had a marketing person help us with the bold build. And so, you know, 4 simple letters, a big bright color, and, you know, a little bit of an abstract font. So that brand identity is just easy to recognize. And, when you put that on social media or any marketing platform, people just recognize it. And that awareness, then I can go places and people are like, oh yeah, I've seen your branding. Oh, I saw your sign. Oh, I saw some posts of you guys on the internet, or, I saw an architect had tagged you guys in some things, or oh, I saw a vehicle around, It's all of that awareness that really builds a confidence in people to use you sometimes. I mean, you've got to, show the skills to get the job done and, have the history of work and, references and, have a rapport with architects. There's all those things.
Yeah.
But this is now one of them. You're in 2024 and the future's sort of growing into that. It used to be ads and whatever newspapers, and now it's just all online.
Yeah, 100%. And part of it's being desirable, looking desirable. You want to, if there's an architect and they want to show their client that, a client turns up in a BMW and like wears nice clothes and, nice watch on their wrist, and they're working there with the architect, and then the architect's drawing up the home, and then they want to recommend a couple of builders. You want to make yourself desirable so the architect would want to show and refer, hey, we use these guys.
Exactly.
And if then they go to your website and they see your brand and how you present yourself and it's all professional and it's all good.
Yeah.
If they like reluctant about sending your website across, then that's not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of builders don't think about that aspect as well. Like, you want people to be proud to, because they go, oh, we just rely on referrals, all good. But how many referrals did you miss out on that you don't even know about because you didn't look desirable?
And people have probably been spoilt for work. They're busy, so then they don't advertise and they don't build a brand. And, when times come tough, then not many people are aware of who you are or what you've been doing, because you've been working off, one job to the next or referral to the other, in the smaller lane, whereas you get out on the highway and you can spread out a bit more when your network's a bit wider.
Yeah, 100%. Be a bit more selective as well with the projects that you may be taking on.
Yeah.
So your company, what's the structure? So how many guys have you got working for you, Anthony? Like, how many crews have you got?
Oh, yeah.
What's the setup?
Yeah, there's 3 crews or so at the moment. We got 16 guys and me and my wife that manage everything.
Cool. And so what's the office? So your wife's got 4 kids, right? So she can't put like 40 hours in. But do you do a lot of office work? Are you mostly on site? Who does the project management, pricing, that sort of thing?
Yep. Yeah, I do all the project management and the pricing. And so my wife is, she's super talented at what time she does have. So, credit to the amazing woman that can raise kids and work,
Yeah, superwoman.
Yeah, exactly. So she handles all the office work, which will be incoming bills, accounting, back costing, and invoicing. Yep.
Wow.
And then we've got an accountant as well, and so.
Yeah, and you guys use like Xero?
Yep.
Xero projects?
Yeah, we use Xero, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
so
cool.
that's good. Yeah, so that syncs in, with a lot of our, merchants and stuff, and streamlines a lot of the invoicing and bills. That's changed things hugely, because in the past, you used to have to sort of like consolidate all your, bills and, keep everything in documentation, whereas now, with the software, it's programmed in there, we can keep a real accurate record of it.
Yeah. What impact does technology play in your business? Do you guys focus on technology a lot to kind of help streamline things?
Yeah. We try to keep it fairly simple, I like things that can be basically set up and managed, but I like them to have a lot of horsepower in the back of the engine, so everything in technology will typically go over-committed, so it's purchased or built that it can sustain a lot bigger than we are.
Yeah.
And then we're a smaller sort of input into it, and it's more streamlined for us.
Cool. So in terms of your vision for Bold Build, like, what do you want to become? Do you want to add more crews, become a bigger operator, remain as you are, but work on more higher quality projects? Like, what's sort of the vision for you guys?
Yeah. It was always to set up Bold Build to be a business that accommodated the lifestyle inside of the busy, hard-working week that we need. We dropped back our sort of day work hours from, say, 7 till 4 p.m. and we just do 1 30-minute break. And then, boys get an hour extra at the end of the day to go home.
Cool.
The vision for Bold Build was to make it adaptable to our lifestyle so that we're more living the life and the work supporting us. Yeah, so as far as how big it would grow or the direction into, what specific type of work isn't probably the priority for me. It's just that, I want it to support my lifestyle and the family. I'm young and the kids are young. We need that time. Like, that's the one thing I really need is time. So I need a business that can give me a bit of time to do those things. And then I'll take whatever work we end up in, the stream sort of, you swing across to a bathroom reno or to a deck or to a big build or to commercial, my probably would be more, trained and stuff in architectural builds. But I say to the boys, if you're skilled, you can go down, but you can't go back up.
Yeah.
So, when you're trained to a high skill level, you can always go and, do a simple fence or a simple, build, whatever it could be. But if you've been trained in the complex, architectural builds or, complex commercial, which half the houses are now, it's easy to go back down to something a little bit less complicated.
Yeah, 100%. And how did you want sort of Bold Build to be different? Like, what sort of sets you apart from a client's perspective?
Yeah, well, it's like a big thing, and it's probably the most important thing, is the personal relation. Like, business as far as I understand it, is more about the personal relation and your commitment to working with people than, how deadly all the nail lines are or how parallel, the wall to the feet lining is. All those things come now commonly as an expectation of the standard, that the boards are grain matched, the colour matched, like the lights are centered, and all of these complex details of craftsmanship are now like a standard, because people have used awards and social media to raise like the awareness that, you can have this beautiful building, but look at how well it's crafted. And so for me, it's more about the personal connection. I just try and relate to people, make sure there's a strong relationship there and that we can trust each other. And that would be the main point that I'd try to, get across as the point of difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because you're a personable guy and they'll be dealing directly with you, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's not just you selling them in and then passing them on.
Yeah.
So that's always kind of really a good way of doing it. How do you kind of maintain that good quality when you're growing? You got like 3 crews going versus when you had 1 crew going. How do you sort of maintain that quality?
Well, probably 2 different approaches. One would be practically having toolbox talks. Like, you need to talk to the guys and explain to them, the task, the procedures you want to in order for the task to happen. I like to do things in my own way, like all builders do. And so you communicate that and you make sure they clearly know that you want the framing, here under, then over, plates doubled, studs at 6s or 4s, so that the instructions are clear. Because guys are real good at following instructions and especially good at understanding pictures. So I'll often draw pictures so they can piece it together and get the vision and then get on board like, okay, cool. Now we know what we got building. We just know we have to do it plumb level, square, and, perfect.
Yeah, 100%. And how do you approach your kind of, it's so important to, and especially, over the last few years, it's kind of changed, I guess. But like over the last few years, it was very hard to kind of get guys and keep them right because people are just sort of like upping the price and I'll give you a ute and a fuel card and all that. But I guess there's more than, from a staff point of view, it's more than just pay. It's more than just, money. How do you sort of keep the culture and the vibe of the team positive, and how do you sort of attract good staff, do you think? What's your approach to that?
Yeah, culture's like, it's quite interesting on a building site, the culture. And for us, we've tried to build it doing little activities, but also the daily morale. We'll always give each other a knuckles, just a little fist bump in the morning because it connects people, The toolbox talks are good because you can always just have a little bit of banter, keep the humour alive, try and keep encouragement. Often I have made mistakes in the past, and I've learnt, to be really encouraging, try to uplift dudes, because when you're the leader of a business or a workplace, everyone looks to you to set the mood, and you can come onto site running hot, jump out of the ute, fuming, slam the door, storming, like, what's all this rubbish everywhere? Clean this crap up. And it soon sets a bad mood on site, and then everyone feels it, then he's yelling at the next dude for like, bro, I didn't want it there. So you have to be real careful of your mind and how you treat people as to that mood, because if you're encouraging guys like, yeah, boys, hour of power, it's the last hour of the day, let's go. They just get excited for the last hour of the day rather than being like, oh, bro, should we pick up early,
Yeah.
And we do those event things, like we did like an ice bath and breathing thing the other day, do a little bit of temp and bowling, have a few drinks and stuff. So those sort of team things that you do maybe every few months or 2 months or something.
Yeah, well, we're like through Better Builder Club, we've teamed up with Dave Wood. Did you guys do his thing?
No.
Oh, you guys probably did something similar then, eh? Because maybe you did one at the Mount, where it's similar, that sort of like, his one's called Calm Under Pressure, which we're doing like
cool. Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
Yeah, it's a bit of like an exclusive to Better Builder, a way that we're running that, which is going to be really cool. But I thought I saw that, but I might have seen something else where you and the guys did some some ice bathing and some get the sympathetic nervous system back in line kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. What was that like?
Yeah. Oh, it was a bit of a challenge, like everyone sort of, some guys are into it, a couple of the boys do saunas and stuff weekly. Yeah. And, it's quite popular now. But for some of us, I hadn't done any of the breath work before, the sort of deep breathing, holding, fast breathing. I hadn't really done those things. And it was quite awkward in a group, all sitting down, and he goes to you, oh, so does anyone have any struggles they want to share? And everyone's like, not really, But it was, a couple of the guys really enjoyed it that I wouldn't have expected. My apprentice, he said he really loved the breathing and it was real helpful, and just a good thing to do, like bonding wise, you go sauna, you jump in the ocean. But a good reset, you get to do that and to take a bit of a stress off, I'm like, okay, we'll pay you till the end of the day, like separate your hours, and then they know like they can be there and relax, not be there and be worried, like, oh, am I going to get paid? Like, oh, I'm not getting, I've got bills,
Yeah, it's you constantly got to think of different ways to keep the guys engaged, and the younger generation, they need different ways to be engaged than like the older guys. A lot of the older guys just need their paycheck and a couple of beers and they're good. Yep. The younger guys are a lot more keen to get involved, and so yeah, that's very that's very interesting that the guys loved the breathing. So how do you get like most of your work then at the moment, Anthony? As a lot of it's just obviously some of it comes through the social media stuff, other stuff word of mouth. Is there any sort of strategic way that you've built relationships with architects or with clients or anything like that sort of worked for you? Yeah,
you got to network. It's part of being present and being around. I try to just meet or be introduced if I get the opportunity, and not always smooth people, but I like to just shake hands and say hello, be respectful in that way. And some works come through architects and some through interior designers, a bit of a mixture there for how that work will come. But the relationship, because I've built for a while now, there's some history with architects. They just know me through the projects. I've never overstepped, or I hope I haven't overstepped that mark too much of being an employee, dealing with the architects. But on-site foreman or whatever you're doing, you need to. So you build a bit of a rapport, they see the finished project and they know you managed it, but not that they surely give the credit to the business owner, but you get a bit of relationship there. So over more than 2 decades of, or, just under 2 decades of architectural building, there's a few relationships with architects.
Yeah, 100%. And so what are some of the, do you do any marketing or anything like that outside of your social media? Is there any sort of marketing stuff that you do that you find works?
Yeah, we like plug through Google Ads. Yeah, that's probably our most effective one for an amount.
Cool.
I'd get at least a comment or two a week from people being like, "Oh, I saw your face pop up on your Google ad." So
Yeah.
that one works really good for us. We can just increase the rate on that, and it's probably simple, effective. It's just the pop up on as people are browsing through web pages.
Yeah. And is that that's sort of like a programmatic ads?
Yep.
Yeah. And so do those, do you get a lot of leads coming through those every month?
Yep. I've got one underway at the moment for quite a big renovation. And the guy, when I met up with him in person after a few phone calls, he's like, "Oh, I'd seen your face pop up on phone on my Google, so I just thought I'd give you a call because I was looking for a builder."
Yeah.
And I was
There you
like,
go.
"Oh, interesting." Yeah.
And the type of leads that come through those are like with those, because my common sense would tell me like through Google Ads, like that won't be like the high end architectural stuff, but it's not. But there'll be some good gems that will come out of that,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
renovations
Yep.
and things like that.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. And how do you? What sort of numbers do you care about in your business, Anthony? So, like, what are the every month, every quarter, every week, whatever, every year? What sort of numbers do you look at? What are the numbers that are important to you to make sure that the business is running as it should?
Yeah. Well, a big part of numbers would probably be before the work starts. It's probably understanding where you're going to end up before you start, and managing those things before I start would be my biggest focus.
Yep.
Whether it's hourly rate, margin, or whether it's a total fixed price, for the work. And then to track them would just be back costing it, so you get through the build, say it's $1 million, and you're going to take you $400K to fit it off, then if you better sort of be at jib fixing for 600, rest of the work done, so you can evaluate that and break those percentages down as needed for the specific job. But back costing, costing the project halfway through or whatever phase you're at, I just do it for significant milestones. Makes sure that we are either going to be on target and within budget, or we're able to see where the blowouts are, and then at that point you can break back down your profit and loss. So
Yeah, and then adjust. And then also that's probably putting you in a good position for pricing future jobs, right? Seeing how long things actually took and that
Yep.
sort of thing as well. So
Yep.
yeah, that's super beneficial. There's always in business, there's always some stuff ups. There's always some things we get wrong, right? What's the biggest, we always on this podcast try to be quite open about that. What are the biggest, are there some examples of some big financial hits you had to take over the year? What's the biggest financial hit you had to take in a project?
Yeah, it was a renovation that went on charge up with the agreement of the budget at the beginning, and not establishing variations and other site changes that we made that increased the cost and overall exceeded the client's budget and funds, and came to a stop work, so which was just a real hard thing to go through. A lot of stress, being like, man, how are we going to carry this, and what have we done to blow out on these people and not clearly clarify that their project was heading over the budget.
Yeah, that's a big one, eh? That would have been a tough pill to swallow on all fronts.
So in that, what that practically looked like was we sat down at a table. Another experienced builder came in just to mediate, and reconcile everything. It's hard and stressful. Families renovated their house and that's gone over. He came in, sat down at the table, and then sort of talked about their expectations, where it had changed, why the project had done, looked at all the numbers and the remaining costs and stuff to finish it, and walked away. And then I talked to him. I got a respect for this guy. He's a very successful builder, and I said to him, what I do, and he goes, I've been through this, and what I did, I sucked it up, and you made the mistake and you finished the job. And I was like, crikeys. So we finished the job.
So that was a costly mistake.
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, it was part of looking past where I was currently at and looking forward to a future, you know. They've got a good relationship with the clients, you know. So I actually talked to them about a house they were going to, they've sold that, went on to sell that house, which was good. You know, cleared all their debts and they've come away well. But, you know, part of that was probably honouring the project and finishing it. And, yeah, that's been the biggest hit.
And that was almost like it sounds almost like a defining moment in your career, right? As is like you can go one way or the other here now. What are you going to do? And the fact that you honoured it, you know, now you're sitting way better off, and you know, and also the confidence that that person now has in you, and good, always good doing that kind of the right thing like that, right?
Yeah, and you know, you sort of got to, what I learned as well is, you know, you got to vet the clients, make sure they're aware of where they're at and what they're changing. You know, part of why they increased it is because the house grew beyond the original scope. You know, it was scoped out for, say, the original budget of, say, 600 or so. And then the more bathrooms you add, you know, the more roofs you change, the more outdoor landscape you add. Those things aren't in the original scope, you know, so it's sort of you've got to be clear and you've got to be fast in the communication for all those changes.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's about so the lesson you learned there is about over communicating, making sure everyone's on the same page, variations, people signing things off.
Because I've worked for a lot of people where that wouldn't be the case, you know, we're just carrying on, you know, we're spending that, you know, the $100,000 here, you know, we're doing this, it's another couple $100,000, you know, that happens too. So you can take that for granted sometimes, assuming that people are confident in the decisions they make, you know.
Yeah.
And then not actually understanding what's in their bank account.
Yeah, 100%. What sort of advice do you have for you guys transitioning now, going from just on the tools to starting their own company? Is there any sort of ABC, 1, 2, 3 things that you tell them to have in place before going out on their own?
Yeah, I think a big thing is to, if you can, depending on the budget you're starting with, if you're starting from nothing, you know, we started Bold Build from almost nothing. So we had to run quite lean and take the work that was suitable that we could manage with the equipment and the sort of overheads that we had, you know. So if you're going to go and get a mortgage or extend out, you know, 4 projects, it's a huge risk to take that commitment and the basis that they can fall over before you start. So working within your capacity financially and what you have under your belt is the smartest thing you can do. And for some guys, you need to start small and you need to build that business up. You know, like if you get a small job and you need a drop saw, you can buy the drop saw and it's in the job. You know, you carry on, you buy the next tool and so forth to eventually have enough equipment to do any project.
Yeah.
Rather than do not buy everything you want, you know. Don't get green-eyed, buy the ute, fit it out with all the stuff, buy all the tools, all the scaffolding and that, you know, like it is too much debt and you do not need it.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. And risk management is so important. And with that comes the contractual aspect as well. Like, do you have anything that you've implemented in your contracts that is sort of additional to the standard? You know, I know that certified builders, master builders, those guys all have contracts that people use as standard. Is there anything in terms of further terms or anything like that you've incorporated into your contracts that sort of helps protect you?
No, I actually haven't increased any extra thing into. I use the master builder's contract generically. We had one commercial job where the architect wanted to use the architectural contract for it, but now a lot of my work has been done on the personal relationship, you know, and agreements, you know, and even that previous job that sort of was a hard one. There's a lot of personal respect and agreement that you stand by, you know, like. When you grow up in a town, you've got to live there, you know, and you've got to have a good face with everyone you deal with. So I have personal respect that gets me through a lot of work.
Yeah. Have you ever been sued or anything?
No.
Not yet. Hopefully never, touch wood, never. What are some misconceptions people have about builders and the industry out there, do you think?
Would probably be that they're tough as nails, number one misconception, the most blokes, even the toughest, tatted up, staunchest looking guys I see on site are usually, as soft as a pillow and just want to be taken care of and, everything nice.
That's good. That's good insight, actually. And what's your point of view at the moment about the construction industry in your area in the Mount? Is it sort of pumping? Is it slowed down? People struggling? What's the vibe out there?
Yeah, big change in there. Like, generally speaking, a huge drop, massive. We're quite busy at the moment, but I would get up to 5 to 10 phone calls a week from guys looking for work. I spoke to one guy last week and he said he tried 30 businesses for a job and still hadn't had any luck. So there's a huge drop. I reckon there's this big underbelly movement of, collapse in the construction industry based on what you see in Tauranga. Generally speaking, a lot of it's in that urban housing group, mortgaged homes that are built, and then resold and stuff and financed. Even the renovations has dropped. There are still a lot of guys that are busy, and they're carrying past work, a lot of guys on multiple year projects that are, still booming.
Yeah.
But anyone that's fallen into the pocket of wanting new work now are scratching, no matter what your reputation is.
Yeah, it's almost like you never know, or you never really know, especially in the custom architectural space as well. You don't really know the true state of the market because of that flow over work. Someone might have had, and it's some of them is just luck of the draw. You just happen to have 3 projects pre-booked.
That's right.
And you're still going, so now you're successful.
Yeah.
Or through bad luck of the draw, your project's just finished off like 3 months ago, and now you're in the shit. So
yeah, man, exactly.
It's a bit like that, at the moment.
Yeah. A good successful company just had 2 jobs paused on them, recently, and so just about to break dirt, paused, and there you are, like, that's your 2 teams, your 10 guys or whatever they had just gone, and that's a common story.
And how are you pivoting, if at all, in the current market to the current conditions? You obviously. You have a runway. You can see it. There's the end of the runway in terms of the projects you're currently working on or having booked in. What are you going to do to pivot in terms of keeping the guys busy, beyond that point?
Yeah, I think it's an important thing is having quite a wide network. When you're tunneled into one specific, style of construction, whether it's, high-end architectural, mainstream resi, light commercial, renovations, shop alterations, anything. When you're only doing one of them, you need a real high continuity to keep revolving, especially with big staff. So we've got quite a broad reach at the moment. Like I said, I'm not really stuck into one dead set. We only want to do bespoke work. All we want to be is craftsmen and build the highest end. That's good. And you can chase that. They're always satisfying to build, usually the hardest, stressful. But so having a bit of a wider network, we're doing a bit of light commercial coming up, doing some renovations, and then we've got some architectural stuff there.
Yeah, just sort of moving where the work is,
Yeah, but you never have a job until you're in the job, They can fall over the day before, the week before. So I've learned over the years never to count on a job too much. I've seen it many a times where they've been swept out from either an undercut or a pause, and that's the harsh reality of being a business owner. You can get left with nothing, just overnight. Yeah,
it's the high risk of the construction industry, eh?
It is,
It's very high. It can be high reward, and it's definitely high risk. We like to talk sometimes about, the mental health aspect of the industry, There's also there's a lot of mental health porn out there as well, so to speak, where it's just like overly done, you know what I mean? Where people just sort of like just lean into it all the time in a way where people can start, sitting in a soup of their own emotions, and that's not what you really want, right? But on a practical level, how when things don't sort of always go to plan, when you're in a funk, how do you sort of deal with, or I guess have you been in situations where you've struggled with mental health and been in a bit of a funk, and how have you sort of got yourself out of that?
I haven't actually had any, deep anxiety or pressures or, that those challenges that can come with that stuff, but that's real common. I just work with heaps of guys that struggle for anxiety. It's probably the popular one that we see, tradies, I reckon. But, we all have to manage it differently, and I've probably put in place some pretty big securities to protect myself, because I know, like, I'm in a high stress, a lot of work and business and all that stuff. So, I've got a few things that I need to do to make sure I'm inside my capacity, or, and not exceeding it. One of them's like say the gym. Other one would be, say, the bush or kayaking, do a lot of camping. Another one, I've got a counsellor, so I go and see like a psychologist sort of every month or so.
Cool.
Just to break down the business side and assess sort of, my nervous system and check in on that side, because I've seen a few builders fail through stress and overwhelming, and I recognise that if you put something in place, you can probably, navigate it before it fully fails.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And how is there any of that sort of with, because your unique upbringing and stuff like that, I can imagine, if you're a young kid, there's a lot of uncertainties, moving around, any of that affected you as an adult now, and how do you sort of deal with that?
Well, a big one, like for me, I found Jesus when I was 17 or 18. That was probably the biggest turning point for me. And so having that community, to gather with, and that support, like me and my wife can stay focused around that. It's
cool.
Been hugely pivotal. That's what pulled me out of where I would otherwise was heading.
Right.
Which was probably jail and more trouble.
Yeah.
So
that was like the sort of like the extreme shift that you needed, change direction.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And that's still what helps you.
It is
to the day.
Yeah.
To this day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So your faith is quite pivotal in that, and that's a big part. People don't talk about, right? It's having faith, and it's the first thing is always, breathing and ice baths and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a lot of people that rely on their faith to to live really constructive lives.
Yeah, really can just keep me in tune and check, and it helps build a integrity and character too. So you keep honest and you keep upfront.
Yeah, 100%. What was the hardest time you went through building your business so far?
Oh, definitely. The reno that went bad. That is just it was hard to go through. They were good friends too, so that thing was the hardest, and a way of continuing to sort of when they're friends, like, oh, what are you doing here? Not close friends, but we had a friendship there. So that was a tough one for financial reasons. And practically you've got to try and finish the work, and then thirdly you've got the reputation to either make or break.
Yeah. Family. Now you've mentioned before you got 4 children, keeps you busy. What are some practical ways that that you kind of keep work charging, family life charging? You got a wife, you got marriage, got to keep that charging. How do you sort of practically kind of balance all of that, and is it even possible?
Yeah, well, I struggle to balance things because I'm, quite a visual person. So I'm always like, something gives, something takes. You're never quite in a perfect, relaxed, state. Life's high stress for me because I've got the 4 kids, so they're full on. They're tearing the house apart. They're screaming and crying, but they're laughing. They're happy. So there's heaps of joy in it. That's always a good reset. It's a hard one, to be honest. The hardest thing in balance there would be the marriage. Running a business and being in a partnership with your wife in the business, and being respectful that she's your wife, not a employee or staff member. So the practical things that we do is me and my wife will try to allocate specific time for work, and we really be intentional to not talk about that, you know, at night or, you know, in a time where it is a family time. We try to separate that. And then with the kids, I just be present when I am there. A big one for me, like I use my phone and that social media stuff, but I, you know, often will leave that on airplane mode or leave that. And then in the business, like by leaving my phone, I'm more present with the kids, you know, to play cars on the ground, you know, pretend do doll play or, you know, do rough play horse rides and stuff. I love tumbling on the ground. So that's with the kids. And then the business one, I like to break everything down quite methodically, itemize it, you know, and itemize out the day, you know, the tasks and the workplace. So that's just writing lists for me. It's the best way that I can visually reduce the stress.
Yeah, because then sort of out of your head, it's on a piece of paper, it's just the task that needs to get done,
Yep.
rather than it sort of moving around your head and
Exactly, yeah. You
know,
can see it,
snappy.
prioritize it, you know, prioritize the person, the client, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I always like to ask, do you think it's, do you think you can be like uber successful in construction, financially successful, and have a good family life all at the same time? Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I do. Yep. I think I'm really happy with that at the moment. You know, I'm in my own place of success. It might not be someone else's wealth, but for us, you know, life's just at a real good place for business and family. You know, business, you always take highs and lows. So I tend to be quite conservative with what profit the business might make because you never know what's around the corner. But a family life, you know, there's a huge happiness and joy we have now as a young family. The kids are all at that still, you know, playful age. You know, you're their be all and end all. You know, everything they want is to be with you and spend time with you. So that's definitely a success. And then just having the financial support to be able to, you know, go away camping or you know, a little trip and stuff. You know, that is really like success. I think people chase maybe someone else's wealth too much, you know, and don't appreciate what they already have.
Yeah, 100%. You should never look at someone's Instagram and try to compare or try to look at what they're up to, right?
No.
But with that in mind, I do sometimes look at your camping videos and feel like, oh, I need a bit of that. So I do. If people go check out Life of a Builder, check out Anthony's page. There are some building stuff, but there's also some cool like camping stuff with the kids on the beach and all that sort of stuff. That's important to do that kind of stuff as well, because that just resets you for the week.
Yeah, it does, man. Yeah, and you know, you're making memories. Like people always talk that, oh, when I was kids, you know, we used to go camping down the East Coast, down Gisborne Way, you know, we went down to Naki, you know, we went up to Coromandel. They've got to be memories for a lifetime.
Yeah, 100%. No, that's good, man. This has been really, really fun. Time's just flown.
It does.
And I've been really enjoying this. Let's do some rapid fire questions. Are you happy to shoot some rapid fire questions through?
Do you want the quick answer to this, or do you want the explanation answer?
You can give quick answers. Sure. We're not too strict on it. Sure. If you want to elaborate, you can elaborate as well. So that's all good. So remind me, how big is your team?
16.
It's a good size. What's your crew mix?
13 qualified, 3 apprentices.
Cool. How many projects did you complete last year?
4.
Cool. What's your turnover? Under 1 mil, 1 to 3 mil, 3 to 5 mil, 5 to 7 mil, 7 mil plus?
3 to 5.
Cool. What's the lowest gross profit margin building company should be aiming for, do you think?
8%.
Cool. Free quote or paid quote?
Free.
QS or price yourself?
Price yourself.
Project management software or spreadsheets?
Spreadsheet.
Texting or talking on the phone?
Texting.
It's faster.
Yeah.
EV or petrol head?
Petrol. Yep.
Yet to have an EV person on
Yeah.
here. I would rather have a beer with an architect, a subby, or a council member.
Oh, subby all day. Yeah, I heard this one. I was like, definitely the subby zone.
No one chooses the council guy or gal. Classic rock or rap?
Rap.
Do you have any go-to?
Tupac, Eminem. Yeah.
Oh, nice. And a bit of old school Tupac is always good. Jock or hippie?
I'd go the hippie.
Nice. Wine or whiskey?
Whiskey.
Makita, DeWalt, or Milwaukee?
Oh, that's a tough
Are
one.
you allowed to say?
I've got so many of them, but I would definitely go Makita all round.
Makita all around. Have you had any sponsorship from most of those guys probably over the years, right?
Yeah, work with Makita and DeWalt.
Yeah. Renovate or knock down and build new?
I like the new. Let's go build new.
Yeah. These days, apprentices are A, soft, B, open-minded, or C, hard workers.
I'd say open-minded. Yeah.
Are you too mean or too nice to your staff, Anthony?
Too nice at the present.
Most used emoji, be honest.
That's the fire.
The fire?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's a
sent
good
that to
one.
you.
Yeah, exactly. That's like a good one, eh? Are you an extrovert or introvert?
Intro.
What's the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
Success is wealth.
That's good. That's a good one. Favorite business or non-business book?
Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last.
It's a goodie. What's your favorite hobby?
Camping.
Thought so. What's one item you can't live without?
I would say it's the gym. Yeah. If that's the item, or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you went to the gym before you got here this morning, so shout
Yeah,
out.
just snuck
Good
that in.
effort, man. Do you think more about the past or about the future?
The future.
Cool, man. That's it.
Right.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, it's a quick chat. Yeah.
Yeah, time flies, eh?
It's funny you say the past the future, because I did this thing called Strengths Finder.
Yeah.
And they do these strengths, and
I've done that one
futuristics-
before.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
And futuristic was one of my strengths.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think I got the futuristic one as well.
Nice.
And but I think it's good if it's practical. If you're thinking about the future in a practical way, it's good. But if you sort of live in the future, it can be detrimental, right? Yeah. So it's always that's how I always sort of see it. But no, thanks so much for coming on, Anthony. I appreciate it, and I think a lot of guys would have got some good value out of that, and just sort of hearing the backstory, because they may have seen the Instagram, and now they kind of know the bit of the backstory as well. So
Yeah, right on. No, it's
that's
been
cool.
great, man. It's so good. You've got a great setup here. Loving it.
Awesome, mate. Cool. Thanks.
Cheers.